I am Dena once again, and this is Discussions with Dena. As always, I ask that you click the subscribe button and press the notification bell if you are listening on YouTube, the corner, and it lets you know when I am uploading or when I am speaking live. You can take part in the conversation. Now, you can also listen to this podcast on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and on any of the platforms in which you get your podcasts. So, like I said, you can subscribe, like, share, chat, and or leave your comment on any of the topics that are being discussed on this podcast. And I want to encourage you to donate to the Cash App. It is listed on PayPal at tongue-tied, Discussions with Dena. And it is greatly appreciated. As I've said, this is a beautiful day today. And I hope that everybody partake in its beauty. Now, as we know, we are all dealing with this pandemic. This coronavirus has touched every one of us in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it be directly or indirectly. And unfortunately, it seems to have taken an even worse impact here in the United States. I wanted to share my thoughts on some of the things that are indeed going on with this pandemic that I have noticed. And I wanted to share what I've been listening to and observing and trying to get some understanding from. Now, like I said, I've been listening and observing and trying to understand some of the ideology and solutions that those so-called leaders or financial advisors of this country are coming up with to deal with this virus. To deal with the virus and to deal with the effect that it is having on our people here all over the world. But there are people who are intent. They are trying to protect themselves, spread as we have been instructed to. We're trying to stop the destruction, the loss of life from this coronavirus. Now, there has been so little done on the average citizen here in America. And I am overwhelmingly finding that this is a quite, just to be quite honest, bigoted, very miserly administration when it comes to the working class people. They're selfish, and I just have observed some of the things that I call weird for people who claim to be concerned about the well-being of its citizens. Now, they're coming across as quite selfish as a country when it comes to the people. The financial aspect of the rich seems to be the priority here, rather than taking care of the masses of people there that have been deeply affected by this, whether it's physically or financially. There is a lapse here. So it's making me kind of question, what are their real intentions? Now, I cannot help but take note of all the so-called experts and geniuses that seem to have no clue as to what needs to be done or why it needs to be done. Now, if it is the intention to stop the spread and you want to protect your citizens, why would you not spend the necessary funds to make sure everyone that you have asked to stay home are able to stay home and yet take care of their financial obligations to their families and other people that they would normally have to pay or be indebted to in order to survive? It's been about 4 months ago that this country shut down in an effort to stop the spread and save lives from this so-called pandemic. And the government sent out a one-time $1,200 stimulus to those people. And these people, I think it was $75,000 for an individual and $150 for a couple. Now, which by the way, everyone is not eligible to receive this. And I understand for many that some of them have not received it as of yet anyway. And that some people didn't need this money anyway. But herein lies the problem that I have. You give your citizens a one-time payment of $1,200. This was supposedly in order for the people to quarantine themselves. And it was supposed to be for that 14-day quarantine shutdown. Now the country closes down, but many states did not even allow the full recommended amount of time before they were trying to force people back to work. And I think this has contributed to some of the loss of life. And you may disagree, and that's perfectly fine, but are closed and shut down as they were instructed to do. And the children are home. So there is no income, which most of us are not, but there is no income or way for the majority of the working poor to pay for their basic obligations each month, like rent, utility, or even buy food for the rest of the country do. That $1,200, if we're honest about it, was pretty much spent when most people received it. Now it is 4 months later, and many of those people who were forced to stay home have still not received the government promise. And their monthly expenses weren't maintained. And a lot of them couldn't take care of their families. And the government thought that $1,200 for these 4 months. If you divide the $1,200 by the 4 months, that's equal to a measly $300 a month. Who can survive on that with rent, mortgage, children, insurance, car notes, and a multitude of other expenses, and not to mention food. Now, many businesses are still closed and will never reopen. Now, your people who lost their jobs are hurting. So this is what the government does. It comes up with an unemployment plan that gives to those who are lucky enough to qualify or even get to speak with an official to get a temporary $600 through your unemployment. This is in addition to their unemployment compensation, which is a good idea. But then it's only temporary, so it will end on July 31st. Now this tiny little bit of money that they should have gotten anyway has become now a burden. I'm hearing this from politicians, and let me emphasize, multi-million-dollar politicians. Now, if I multiply that 600 by 4, that's $2,400 a month. Now, I have heard all kinds of stories of what people have had to deal with their unemployment office. Some people still haven't gotten in contact with them or haven't received anything as of yet. Now, I'm hearing these people that came up with this complaining that $2,400 is just too much to have somebody sitting at home earning and doing nothing. I mean, you people are straight hypocrites. This is a crime and a shame. Now, I just have to say, this is despicable. And it says the people here in the United States. But even more so, what does it say about this country? What does it say? I'm going to tell you what it says. It says that rich people and politicians are synonymous. It's like the politicians work on their behalf, and they seem to have no concern for the everyday citizen. This small amount, because I'm just going to be honest, $2,400 is not a lot if you have a large family. But some areas but it will help you if you're down to zero. It's a help. But for these people, these politicians, economists, and leaders to actually say that this is causing people not to go back to work, it's shameful. Most of the states in the country could not wait to open back up. They would not even allow this virus to run its course, not even follow their own lame guidelines that they themselves said needed to be done before opening back up. I happen to live in Georgia, which is one of the first states that opened up before they even met the guidelines. The numbers were not going down. When going up, people were still dying and being hospitalized. But Georgia was more concerned with their finances than the lives of people. They rushed to open up and force people to go back to work when they knew they did not have a handle on this virus. And even today, the numbers are rising. And then they're blaming the people. It's not the people's fault. The people were trying to follow the guidelines that you, who should have the citizens' well-being, be at the top of the line and the most important thing that's on your mind. This state, I believe, saw or felt that it was going to be financially ruined and said, we're opening up regardless. So now people are sick and more infected than ever. And nobody wants to take responsibility. You want to blame the people. But we can't do that. We can't do it. It's not fair. And we need to hold these states and these politicians and these people that make these decisions that affect our life. We need to hold them responsible. They're even trying to pass bills where they don't have any liability whatsoever if you decide to come to work in the midst of this pandemic. I mean, these politicians, rich men and women who make all of these laws and all the decisions that govern the working poor, they have no compassion to even say, we will take care of you for 4 months, maybe 6. I don't care if it's a year or 2 years, with a stipend. And after that time, we can check back and see the status and open or not. This could have been done every 3 months, every 4 months. At least it would have given this virus time to get control, a better understanding, or stop the spread. But the arrogance, the greed, and the lack of compassion or consideration for every other citizen's life besides the rich is undeniable here. There is so much political theater that it's just overwhelming. Now, it has crippled many working families. Now, working families and poor families, or working poor as we like to say, they keep the economy of America alive and robust. And how in the hell are you rich but politicians complaining about somebody receiving an extra $2,400 a month for a limited time? What does this say about the country? What does this say about America? I mean, your pay wages are awful. Because if you do the math, that's not a whole bunch of money. I mean, it's a blessing if you have none. But remember, this pandemic was 4 months ago when they shut down. And you haven't given your rich person a penny since then to try to survive. Wouldn't it have been easier to ask people to stay home and give them a monthly stipend to hold them for 4 to 6 months in hopes of getting a handle on this pandemic? But no, the greed and the political self-interest outweigh the life and the health of the citizen. And like I said, it's been 4 months, and this country left most people even worse off than they were before. Now, everyone cannot and does not get the $1,200 or even the $600 unemployment compensation. Many were denied and are still struggling to try to make ends meet. I mean, every day you just have to listen. They're talking about how people are living on the street. Families, I see families that are often, or people are taking the time to try to assist them. There are the ways being paid to the citizens of America when the government official deems it necessary to cut it off because they are earning more than they would if they were working. This is shameful and speaks to the greedy companies that work people to a decent living wage. Now, why are people not earning this in a week from their jobs? It's not that people don't deserve it, and it's not that they don't work hard for it. This has to do with greed and the way culture, this economy is based. It's based on slave labor. And what do I mean by that? That means they work the hell out of people and pay them companies, make millions in profit. It's greed. While their actual workers can barely stay afloat from check to check. Most people are living, and there needs to be a change here. I'm sorry, but $600 is just not a lot of money to survive on. And to hear these people complaining, again, $600 divided by 40 hours a week would mean that a person would have to make at least $15 an hour just to have the, and we're not talking about all the taxes and stuff and other. Now that $600 was in addition to their regular unemployment compensation, but this should be the minimum that any job pays here, including restaurants, hospitality, grocery stores, and all of it, etc. I say just the minimum for the citizens here in America. Of course, certain states you could not even survive, like I said. It would be impossible to take such small amount to another state. And to hear these people complain, I mean, it's sad. I find it hypocritical that these rich, greedy, and biased politicians would complain about working people deserving this and trying to rush and end it. Now, because they have the power to control our resources and want to force many people back into endangering themselves and going to work or to schools when they know they don't have. You're endangering the lives of the families and the person that goes out and has to come back to the family. I mean, they're endangering the lives of people to keep them and their cronies getting richer every day. And it's repulsive when you think about it. Who is to say more lives could not have been saved if this government had taken a different approach instead of dispensing money to these rich companies? Now, all the while, they're pretending that this money that was being dispensed to everybody was in the best interest of the everyday citizen. But it was, in fact, a reward once again to the greedy multi-million-dollar companies, the company owners, the politicians, the campaign donators or contributors. And this was on both sides, the Democrat and the Republican side. When they started with this PPP stuff, I was trying to get as much information as I could because it was a little confusing. They said it was a loan, but it would be forgiven if it is used for certain purposes. So how many actual small businesses that you or I know actually benefited from this PPP money? For the most part, most small businesses did not get any benefit from this. I saw many business owners who tried, and both times this money was dispersed and they were denied or told that the funds were not available for them or they were gone. But you read about how giant corporations got millions of these dollars intended for business owners like you and I, but could not get a single cent. But what is interesting are the reports that the government, I read that says the government wants to give stimulus another round to the everyday people like me and you. Now, this is 4 months later, mind you, and it is supposed to be given to those who earn less than $40,000 on their taxes in 2019. Really? Can you believe this nonsense? It's like we're dealing with an insane group of people. I think that's how they want it to appear. But I can see through their agenda. Now, it does make you ask, who or what insane group of people were elected to run this country? Can they not comprehend that people who may have earned above $40,000 in 2019 are not earning that amount today and are in need of financial help or support more than ever? So if you earned $75,000 in 2019, you're not earning that. If you earned $60,000, so you won't get that. If you earned $50,000, which many of you are out of work, you won't get any stimulus. And I hate using the word stupid, but in this case, it just fits the situation completely. Now, I know nothing is written in stone, but the thought that these people would come up with this nonsense and that the American public find it acceptable. This is our money. We need to be speaking out against this nonsense. So if people or a person or family have been out of work and unable to earn that 40,000 or above, that 60,000 or that 100,000, would not they need financial assistance as well as the ones that are or has earned less than 40,000 in 2019? That is not fair. It's not fair to the people who lost their jobs, who stayed home, that their job no longer exists through no fault of their own, to be punished by the government. And what is the government? The government is supposed to be people. It's me and you. We do what is in the best interest of other people like us. Now, have you not seen the number of people that can't pay their mortgage or have been made homeless and are seeking assistance from food shelters? There are long lines at food shelters. And these are people that were earning more than 40,000, but they're down to zero or just barely making it because of this pandemic. Now, many jobs that were lost are not coming back. And you want to only focus on those who earned less than $40,000 in 2019? Hello. So what do you offer those who are struggling, who made more and can no longer support their family because their employer has, and that job is gone? Regardless of what people are saying, there are not a lot of high-paying jobs hiring at this time. There are just too many families hurting for this Senate, this Congress, and this country to take a blind eye to their needs when it comes to the way that their gluttonous, self-absorbed, special interest aiding heartless politicians distribute the wealth. Rich people do no assistance or aid. However, this seems to be the people who are generously receiving grants and fundings by politicians. Now, these politicians and lawmakers has taken supposed to be allotted to assist in getting things back on the road. But money was not allocated properly from the very start. Most American people live paycheck to paycheck, as I said before, and cannot even afford a $500 hit to their budget. And most don't even have $500. Says not only should the wages increase, but perhaps people should be given, that's true, but the wages have a lot to do with it. It's not because they're not hardworking people, but the cost of living is it costs so much more than what we are given to go out here and work hard. It's beneficial to anyone but the business owner. So the economic damage who earned more than $40,000 in 2019, and they need assistance. And to assume that those earning under $40,000 in 2019 are the only ones in need, and the only ones that need help is just plain asinine. Now, remember the money that they are spending is taxpayer money. And who are the taxpayers? You and I. We are the taxpayer. That when the PPP, and for those who don't know what that is the Paycheck Protection Program. That is a loan that originated from the coronavirus aid package. And it a direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on the payroll. Will forgive that so-called loan if all your employees are kept on the payroll for 8 weeks. And the money is used for payroll, rent, mortgage interest, or utilities. Now that cash flow and assistance through 100% federally guaranteed loans. Now, when Congress first passed the CARES Act back in March, it granted $669 billion to the Paycheck Protection, and the loan is fully forgiven. I'm sorry, 60%.